I'm Justin. I'm an alcoholic. Hello. Thank you. Thanks, Mac. I really appreciate that, dude. You almost had me tearing up, you know. So I appreciate that. So, yeah, welcome. Welcome. I'm glad that you guys are all here for real. Because I have a whole big pile of evidence that says I cannot do this by myself. So thank you for being here tonight. You know, so yeah, I'm an alcoholic, right? And that means a couple things to me today. The very first thing, the most important thing is that when I put chemicals into my body, I don't know what's going to happen. And I'm capable of anything. You know, I'm capable of murder. You know, and if you don't think you are, have you ever done this and been driving around? You know, you are capable of murder. You know, and that's scary. You know, because before I came in here, I was driving around in a car with a hatchet looking for Casper the Ghost because I thought some crazy stuff was going on and I was going to kill somebody, you know. So that's the type of things that happen to me when I put chemicals into my body. And I can't stop. I cannot stop no matter how much I try, no matter how much I try to self-will and put all the power and effort, I cannot stop. No matter how much my parents love me, no matter how much my friends or whoever else was around me begged me to stop, I couldn't stop. You know, it took divine intervention like the police showing up in my life, getting pulled over by the cops. And the second thing that qualifies me as an alcoholic is I've got these antennas, right? And information gets filtered through them. And when it gets filtered through them, it makes it about me. You know, just automatically it is about me. You know, and for example, I could be at work and someone could give me a dirty look or just whatever, look at me cross, and I'm just like, that guy hates me. You know, like, and then I form a resentment. So those are the two things that I really think are important for a guy like me to understand about alcoholism. And I've really come to believe that alcoholism is a disease. Like, I really truly believe it, that it's a disease. And I've come to believe that this disease has 4 stages, right? The first stage is it's fun. I mean, it's a blast. You know, like, wow, all this magical things are happening, you feel free, right? Then there's the second stage where it's fun, but there's problems, right? You're starting to get DUIs, friends are dying around you, you know, but you're still trying to have fun. Then there's the third stage where the fun is completely over and you're just completely miserable, sober or with chemicals in your body. You know, then I believe the fourth and final stage is insanity and death. That's where this disease will lead us. You know, and by the grace of God, I'm standing here alive and sober. You know, and I truly believe that with all my heart today. So, so my story starts off, I was about 6 years old, and I was sexually abused when I was 6 years old. And that happened until I was about 8. And that really warped my reality. You know, that was something that just totally took away my childhood, really. You know, because all kinds of fears were instilled in me, and my reality was just warped. I was very angry, and I didn't understand why. You know, and when it happened, nobody sat down and told me that it wasn't my fault and stuff like that. You know, there was no type of counseling. It was just shoved underneath the rug. That's the way my family deals with problems, is they just put everything under the rug and put on a good face and pretend like everything's okay, but things weren't. You know, and at that point I started failing in school. I started stealing, sniffing glue, you know, and doing stuff like that at a very young age, you know, 8 years old, and they couldn't figure, you know, people kept asking me, what is wrong with you, you know, and I don't know. That's the only true answer I could give you, is I truly didn't know what was wrong. And then when I was 12 years old, that's when I found chemicals. And that's what what happened for me is what I call is a chemical awakening. You know, before the chemical awakening, I always felt like I never measured up to anybody, you know, that I was always less than and just horrible and bad and wrong. And I didn't feel like I quite fit in with anybody, you know, and I was deathly afraid to talk to girls, and it was hard for me to make friends, right? But when I was about 12, I was hanging out with a group of kids that wanted to smoke some pot. So I smoked some pot, and we had it in this little plastic bong, you know, and we're hitting it, and it tastes like shit, and it's burning my throat, you know, and we're coughing, and tears are coming down our faces, and nothing's happening, so we just keep doing it, but it finally, you know, it was a creeper one, you know, and so it crept in, you know, and I felt fucking amazing, you know. All of those feelings went away of less than, all that, you know. All of a sudden I was cool, you know, because that is something I always desperately wanted to be, was cool, you know, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. And so when that happened, I was just like, wow, this is magical. I'm gonna do this every day, you know. And after that, and I did. I tried to do chemicals as much as possible after that, and I was very resourceful too, because at the age of 12, it's hard to get beer and to get weed all the time. So friends introduced me to Duster, you know. So I'd be just doing a whole cans of Duster, you know. Yeah. and just continued like that, right? And would get into fights, and was just crazy. You know, I believe I qualified for this program from the very first time I put chemicals in my body. I lost control, you know, but I still thought I was having fun, right? I thought I was having a blast. And it was fun, though. It was fun. And then, let's see. And then we get into high school, right? And we start partying, and there's girls, and it's a lot of fun, you know. And oh god damn. Let me collect myself here. Yeah, I'm really scared. There's a lot of you in here, you know. I'm used to a group of like 20 at the most, you know. So we'll just skip right to the bars. And so we start going to bars, right? And there was some kind of magic, you know. You get the right kind of whiskey in you, and you're smoking a cigarette, and you're playing pool, you know. You crack the pool ball, and you're playing good, right? That was the magic that alcohol brought to me, you know. And I felt free, and I was able to talk to women and just have fun, you know. But there became I was always chasing that, constantly chasing that fun time, and the more and harder that I chased it, the more it eluded me, right? And so at going to the bars and stuff, oh god, I can't. But yeah. So I got a job working pipeline, you know, and it was a perfect job for a guy like me. You're only in one place for about 6 months at a time. It's just long enough for you to burn down all the bridges and to carry on, you know. And I did that for a long time. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It seemed like I was a rock star, you know. Everywhere that I went, there was new girls, new bars, new people to party with, and I did that for a really long time. And what I'd do was I would go on these pipeline jobs, get a bunch of money, come back here to Utah, and get on the real stuff, the heroin. That became my real love, was heroin. And so I was always trying to balance between the two lives of being this pipeline guy, and then coming home and doing heroin. And then when I'd come home and do heroin, I'd get in trouble with the law with every single time. And then I would take off. I'd leave and go to another place, cause more wreckage, leave there, come back here, cause more wreckage. Just did that for a long, long time. And in the midst of that, I met this girl at a bar in Nebraska, and I asked her out on a date. We go out on this date, and we start and we get with each other, and we had it. We got with each other, and we ended up having a kid. You put enough baby, or no, I'm not going to say that. We ended up having a kid, and I didn't want this kid. I did not want him. I tried talking her out of it, but she was dead set on having this kid. And so I remember the day that he was born. I showed up to the hospital, and I'm hungover, and the baby comes out. His name's Nixon. The baby comes out, and I'm holding him. And most people, they'll tell you they looked into the eyes of God. Not me. When I looked at him, I was like, oh shit. You really did it. How do I get out of this? How do I get out of this? And so I burnt that relationship to the ground. I burnt it to the ground the way that I know. I'd lie, cheat on her, and let her find out. That's the type of guy I am when I have chemicals in my body. And so I lost him. I signed over my rights to him, and that really spiraled me down, because even though that I didn't want him, it was still hard. It is my son, right? And it really spiraled me down into my alcoholism even further. And so yeah, it was really hard for me to deal with. And then after that, my grandfather passed away, and that spiraled me down even further too. There kept being these spirals, right? I'd go further and further down my alcoholism, and it got to the point where it didn't matter. I just kept using and using, and I was in West Virginia, and I was really sick. I prided myself on going to work. That was one of the things that I always told myself was, as long as I showed up to work, I was doing okay, right? But I was just a total mess. And so I was really, really sick, was throwing up a lot, and couldn't get out of bed, but I just kept thinking to myself I wasn't doing enough dope, so I'd do more dope and try to carry on. But I was just really sick, and I had this roommate at the time, and he's seen me in my condition, and he's trying to talk me into going to the hospital because I was yellow, I was jaundice. Like, I looked like Bart Simpson. My skin was yellow, my eyes were yellow, and so he talked me into going to the hospital. But like my alcoholism will try to downplay those kind of things. And I told him, yeah, we'll go to an Instacare, And so when I was walking into the Instacare, the nurse took one look at me and said, "Sir, you need to sit down." And I sat down, and I thought to myself, well, yep, I'm really fucked now. And they called me an ambulance, and the ambulance picked me up, and it took me to the hospital, and I laid in the hospital for about 7 days. Before they released me, the doctor and the nurse came in there, and they're explaining to me my condition. My liver and kidneys were shutting down, and that if I didn't quit living the way that I was living, I was going to die. And I didn't care at that time, because by this time in my development, my alcoholism, I was in and out of jail a lot. Psych wards were a regular thing, and I tried committing suicide a bunch of times by this time, and I welcomed death. I didn't care. They told me I was going to die, and I was happy. I was good, I'm glad, and when I got out of the hospital, I called a taxi and told the taxi driver, I've got $100 with your name on it if you hurry up and get here, because I laid in that hospital bed 7 days sober. And at that time, it was complete hell. You know, all those emotions and everything that I tried tucking away my entire life were just boiling through me. And so I did what a good alcoholic does, was I went and continued putting chemicals into my body with the hopes that I would die. You know, with the hopes that I would die. But it didn't happen. And I ended up going back. I was in West Virginia when that happened. I ended up going back to Tooele, my hometown, because I was torturing a girl at the time. You know, I've never really had a relationship. It was just a torture chamber. And I was torturing a poor girl here in Utah, and I had to get back here because I was in a mess psychosis, and I thought she was being kidnapped and raped. That's what was my reality then. And it was a scary reality, and that's why I came back here. You know, was to save her. You know, and in the midst of that, my family, my parents got to see me in that condition. They've never seen me like that before. I was always when I'm out on the road, I'd get crazy like that. You know, and they see me like that, and they wouldn't let me inside their house. I wasn't welcome there anymore. And this whole time, I'm just out here homeless, living in my car, you know, and just doing all these crazy things. And the relationship was very toxic, just disgusting. It was like a competition to see who could hurt each other the most. And it was just very sick, and we couldn't tear away from each other. It was very disgusting, and I should, and we'd fight all the time, just very, very abusive to each other. It would get verbally abusive, physically abusive. It was just very, very nasty, you know. And one night after fighting with her, I went to my parents' house and was trying to let them stay with them because it was wintertime and it was cold. I didn't know where else to go, and I went there, and they would not let me in there. No, you got to leave. And my mom does daycare at her house, so there's this crazy tweaker outside their house, you know, like trying to get in. They're trying to get me the hell out of there as fast as possible, and so I sit there. They told me to leave, and I sit down on the porch, and I'm really distraught. You know, like, what do I do? I mean, by this time I'm broken inside. I was to that point where I didn't want to live and I didn't want to die. And I was sitting out there on the porch smoking a cigarette, and this girl comes walking up, and my God knows that I will respond to women. You know, He just knows that I will most likely say yes to a woman. You know. And she comes walking up, but I'm like, God, not her, anybody but her, because I look like shit, I smell like shit, my teeth are falling out of my head, you know, and I'm yellow, and she looks down at me and she says, you know what, people still love you. And at that point in my life, I didn't think there was a soul in the world that did. And she said, do you want help? And the first time in my life ever, I said yes, because throughout my whole life, people were always telling me, dude, you need help. You need to go to rehab. No, I don't. I'm good. I do not need rehab. But for the first time in my life, I said yes. And so off to rehab I go. And I'm scared as hell when I'm going to this rehab center. And I walk into this rehab center, and I'm pretty broken down, but I still have a little fight left in me, you know. and because in this rehab center, I walk in, and in this rehab center, everyone hugs you, you know. And I walk in, they're like, welcome, brother. And I'm like, what in the fuck, brother? You know. And they hug me, and I'm just like, what do you want? Get away from me. And by the time I got to to the rehab center, all what I had left was a backpack, and it was a tweaker backpack. I don't know if you guys have ever had a tweaker backpack. It has all this vitally important shit in it, and I thought there was a bunch of vitally important stuff in there, and they're doing my intake. They're looking at all this weird stuff I got in there, like a bunch of cell phone chargers and just stuff I stole in all at the Walmart, the local Walmart, and I'm really worried about that stuff. I'm scared that I'm not gonna get that stuff back. But so they're welcoming me in there, and I'm just afraid. I don't know what's going on, and they're telling me we're going to take you to a CA meeting. I'm like, what the fuck's a CA meeting? And so we all pile in the van, and we're driving to this CA meeting, and by this time I start getting dope sick. And I'm like, fuck, shit, God, this is going to suck really bad. And we get out of the van, we go in there, and I'm sick. We all sit down. People come piling in. It's in this old dirty ass church in downtown Salt Lake, And I'm just thinking to myself, what did I get myself into? What is this shit? There's this crackhead sitting next to me. He's talking all this crazy shit, and then the meeting starts, right? And the next thing I remember is. Someone was picking up some time, and it was obviously a birthday because they sang happy birthday to this girl, and she got up and was talking about how her life was getting better, and she was up there crying about all this stuff. And I thought to myself, wow, this is it. This is it. That's what I want. I want my life to get better. I want what she has. A better life. She's talking about getting her license back and her kids back. I'm like, wow, I want that. So we leave there. That's my first exposure to you guys. That's my very first exposure to you guys. And so we're carrying on in this treatment center, and they tell us, I think it was that weekend, they tell us we're gonna have a big book study. I'm like, what the fuck's a big book? And we're going to sit around and read this book together. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. That sounds really lame, and so we're sitting around and we're in this circle and we're reading this big book together. And they hand us these big books, right? And you know what they look like. They look like they look like a Book of Mormon, I'm like, fuck, I don't want a Book of Mormon, I'm kind of flipping through it, like, oh, whatever. And we start reading it, right? And we start reading it, and, we're getting into it, and the first thing I remember us reading was the doctor's opinion. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't need another doctor's opinion. I've had plenty of those. So I'm not going to pay attention to that. Screw that. And we start reading on further into the book, and it's something about Bill's story, and I'm like, who the fuck is Bill? I don't care about his story, that's lame. And then we keep reading on, and I'm not really sure where it's at in the book. So I'm not one of these guys that memorize the book. Maybe I should, but it says, the alcoholic is like a tornado ripping and roaring through people's lives. That caught my attention. Boom. That really, that was me. That was me. I found myself in that book. That is a miracle. I remember the feeling that I had inside my body. It was like there was these embers inside my body. What was my spirit, and they were dying. They're really low embers. And when I read that, it was like God blew on those embers and started a little tiny fire. Just this little tiny fire. But at that time, because I was so dead inside, it felt like a fucking raging inferno. Ooh, and I wanted more of that. That was awesome. And I became very hungry for this program. And while I was in there, after that, so I'm starting to ask questions. I'm intrigued about this. How do I stay sober? What do I got to do? And so I'm talking to this guy that's working in there, and I'm talking to him, how do I get sober? What do I do? He says, well, first of all, do you believe in God? Well, no. No, there's no God. If there's a God, it's an asshole, and it surely does not love me. There's no way. I went my entire life trying to prove that there wasn't a God. And he looked at me and he said, son, I don't care. I don't care that you don't believe. You don't have to. And I said, well, what does this have to do with being sober? He said, that's what's going to keep you sober. So then what do I do? He said, pray to it. I said, well, I don't believe in God. So what am I supposed to pray to? If you don't care that I don't believe and I'm supposed to pray, what am I supposed to pray to? And he said, your bed. My bed, huh? All right, shit. So I tried it out, thinking that it wouldn't work. Just jokingly, get down on my knees. Hey, bed, I'm here tonight. I was told you would keep me sober. And I did that, and I did that for a while in there, and something happened while I was in there. Like I'm a huge control freak too, and so while I was in there, I was still trying to manage this girl's using while I was in there. I'd call her, check on her. What dope guy are you going to? You can't go to him. And she's telling me to F off. And so like I'm the type of guy that if I get in a fight with somebody that I think I love, or I'm distraught, and I was very angry, very sad, and I went up into my room, pissed off and crying. But then I realized something. I didn't think about using. That's a miracle for a guy like me, right? The obsession was lifted from me, and I didn't even believe. I didn't believe at all. But I had that little mustard seed of faith that people talk about. The mustard seed of faith was that I did it. The action, they tell us that this is a program of action. I did the action. I didn't sit there and think about it, and twiddle my thumbs and wonder if it was, try to outthink the disease of alcoholism. I did it. And it worked, right? So I came to believe while I was in there. Wow, what a miracle, especially for a dude that didn't believe in God. But I realized something too, is that I'm a seeker. And me trying to disprove God, I was still seeking God. And so I after that, I choose to seek God in different ways, right? But so I came to believe. And then also what they did for me in this treatment center is that they sit you down in that same circle and they try to convince you that you're powerless, right? You sit in there and you tell your story, and we sat around in this circle and I tell my story and they're trying to convince me that I'm powerless. And at this time I was just like, I'm not powerless. I don't think you know who you're talking to. I'm a successful pipeliner, for Christ's sake. Like my God, I'm not powerless. But then I was starting to see that my life was a little bit unmanageable. Just a little bit. Dying from alcoholism, but so I left that treatment center. Not still under the delusion that I'm powerful, but I came to believe, right? And so I thought I had something. I thought I could get this girl sober, right? I thought I could get her sober because I came to believe, but I was still not convinced that I was powerless, And I was going to aftercare and talking about this, and everybody's trying to tell me, dude, you can't get this girl sober. You can't do it. I'm just like, whatever, man, I'm gonna do it, And I'm dragging this poor girl to meetings with me, and she's high as fuck, and I'm dragging her into meetings and trying to be her sponsor, I'm showing her Bill's story. Read Bill's story and call me tomorrow, And she's just kind of like, fuck you, dude, you know. And so I'm trying to control and manage this girl's life, you know, while I'm out there. And I'm sober. There's no chemicals in my body, so I am crazy. I mean, I am crazy as fuck. There's this thing that I found out that what it is it's called angst. It's like this spring inside my body that just keeps getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and then I need relief. It needs to pop, right? And that's what was happening while I was trying to control and manage this poor girl's life and her using, and desperately trying to get her sober. And through that, I needed relief, so I relapsed. You know, I got high. I did what an alcoholic's gonna do when we get like that without practicing AA. You know, like I'm 60 days sober. You know, and so I got high, and I got high, and what happened is I overdosed while I was getting high. I was in a Motel 6, you know, really fancy place, and I overdosed, and I just kept, when I got brought back, I just kept using. You know, the compulsion's really strong, and I just kept using. But there was a lot of powerful things that happened for me while I was in that treatment center. You know, they had us do a step 7 prayer, and for some god awful reason, while I was high, I was reading my step 7 prayer. You know, talk about putting yourself in some pain, you know, a vein full of heroin and some AA, that will bring you some fucking pain, you know. And I was reading that step 7 prayer, and I realized something, that I will never have that fiery feeling that I got from when I read the Alcoholics Like a Tornado Rolling Through People's Life. That feeling was never going to come back if I was going to continue down this road and I was going to die. But I couldn't stop using. You know, it took divine stopping for me to stop. You know, so my plan was to go rob the sober living, and continue using. You know, and when I rolled up to rob the sober living, one of the dudes that I was living with there rolled up and looked at me and said, we got a spot for you back in this treatment center. You want to go? And God intervened in my life, and I looked at that girl, looked at him, and I got in the car. And he drove me to that treatment center, and I started, I detoxed in there again, you know, and when I started coming around to my senses, I realized that I'm powerless to drugs and alcohol, people, places, and things. You know, and that lesson almost killed me, but I really think I needed that. Like, pain is about the only thing, the pain is my greatest teacher. You know, that's the only thing that will get my attention, a guy like me, attention. You know, so after that, I really started taking this program really serious. You know, I wanted to stay sober. And they told me to do a couple of things when I got out of that treatment center. It was get a sponsor, get a home group, and get a service commitment. And I did all 3 of those things. I got a sponsor, I got a service commitment, and I got a home group. You know, I was making coffee in that home group, and I didn't like it, you know, and I was really scared that they were going to hate it, but they really liked the coffee, they told me. So I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to keep making this coffee. I'm the best coffee maker there is. And when I met my sponsor, it was before he was my sponsor, though. We were outside the meeting talking, and I used to have to skateboard to the meetings because I didn't have a car, nothing like that. And so I'd skateboard to this meeting that was close to sober living, and I'm talking to this guy, and I'm telling him, you know, he's asked me questions about myself, and he's like, so what's your deal? And I'm like, I'm a successful pipeliner. And he says, oh, really? Is that why you're skateboarding to the meeting? Yeah, and that's when God knew that was my sponsor. And I say God because God picks our sponsors, I believe. And I asked that man to be my sponsor. And it was scary. It was like asking someone out on a date, like I'm looking at the ground, Mr. Sponsor, sir, will you be my sponsor? Just scared. And he said yes. He said yes, and I was very grateful for it. And so when we started on the steps, I was all excited, just like, I get to join AA, because while I was in the treatment center, they're taking us to meetings just like this, and I couldn't wait to join you guys. And so I'm like, I finally get to join AA, and I'm sitting in this man's truck with my little notebook and my big book, and I'm waiting for my assignment, because, I hear all you guys talking about your sponsors giving you assignments, so I'm excited for one of these assignments, and I'm sitting in there, I'm like, so what's my assignment, sir? And he looked at me, and he said, I don't give the assignments, God does. And I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm just like, no, I need some intellectual stuff to do. Come on, please, let me write some stuff. I'll write you a good essay. And I'm glad he hasn't done that for me. But so we embarked on this journey of the steps together. And the way that he took me through the steps was we would go hiking. We'd go out in the woods, and we'd talk about the steps and how he applies them to his life, and he sat me down one time out there with the big book and stuff, and we're on to step 4, and he showed me how to write an inventory, and I did a few in the treatment center, but those were just stories about how everyone fucked me over. And so he taught me how to do an inventory in the big book. And so we go through the inventory, and we go back out to the woods again, and we go over this inventory, and he shined a light on all my defects of character, and he explained to me that these are the reasons why I cannot have a sex, I can't say it. Blah, blah, blah. Hold on. Successful. Bam. Relationship with anybody, with a female, with a car, with anything. Because I don't know about you guys, like everything I touch died of alcoholism, including my car, And the houses I lived in, because the houses I lived in, they'd get spray paint on the walls and cigarette butts put on the floor, all kinds of crazy shit. And he explained to me those are the reasons, those character defects are the reasons why I do those type of things. And some of my biggest character defects is self-pity. I love me a self-pity jag. Go sit in my room and wring my hands and worry about what you guys are thinking about me. And then the other one is people pleasing. Please love me because I cannot do it myself. Please love me because I can't do it myself. And those are the type of things that I do that infect the relationships I'm trying to have. Those are the things that poison the relationships. And that's why I can't do that kind of stuff. And those are the reasons why I drink, and those are the reasons why I get resentments. Like I'm getting, there's their instincts that have gone crazy. Like everybody needs food, water, a place to live, and everyone wants to be loved, right? And when I perceive that you are getting those things and I'm not, I get resentments, and then I act out in those character defects. And those are the things that he's continued to show me. And by that time, I am feeling like fucking garbage, I'm just like, I'm a piece of shit, But he pointed out to me that I'm not the only one with these things, and that everybody in this room has them, And some aren't willing to look at them, and some are, And thank God for the ones that are, and thank God for the ones that aren't, And so then he tells me, do you want these things to be gone? Of course I do. So he shows me the prayers in the book, and we pray, and then at this time I'm like I'd say 9 months sober, right? And at this time I'm still I brought with me me to my life, right? I'm still acting like I am using, but I'm sober, right? I'm still doing a lot of the stuff that I did in my youth, like manipulate women, and at this time I'm working at a temp agency, and at this time I manipulate this girl to start sleeping with me, right? And at this time we're at step 9, and I've manipulated this girl to sleep with me, and my sponsor is telling me, dude, if you want to stay sober, you have to tell this girl your wrongs. You have to tell her what you've done, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that. He's like, well, dude, if you want to stay sober, you've got to make an amends to this girl. And so I'm like, fuck. so I called this girl and I made an amends to her, right? That was my very first amends. It was in real time, it was in that it wasn't a past amends, but that was my first experience with it, and it helped me realize something, is that I never want to do that again. I never want to yeah. And so that helped, and that kind of got the ball rolling on these amends. That really just greased the wheels, and I started making all these amends, right? And I was super scared, and I got told fuck off a lot, to some people, they just, whatever. God had different plans, but and the amends that I thought were going to be super hard, like the financial amends, ended up being the easiest ones, really. I made a deal with myself and my God, because I had this big stack of bills, of institutions that I owed. And I made a deal with myself and God that whatever one I picked off the top is the one I was going to pay no matter what. And that's what I did until the stack was gone. And trust me, there was some that I was like, I ain't fucking paying them. But I'd asked for the willingness, and I paid them, And then so we move on, and I still have a lot of amends to do. I don't think I'll ever be done with the amends. A lot of my amends, I believe, are living amends, I just don't like the thing that he told me when we were done with step 5. He told me, go and sin no more. And at the time, I didn't think nothing of it, but now I understand. Go and sin no more. Do your best not to do those things that we talked about in 4 and 5. And so that's what I'd really try to do. And one of them is I would go to restaurants and like bail out on the bill, or not tip the waitress, or cause a ruckus. So one of the ways that I make amends for that is I leave a big tip no matter what, and I try to help I like clean up the dishes a little bit, and just be really courteous to the person that's serving me food. That's one of the ways. Yeah, I'm not even halfway through with my amends, right? Not even close. But I am definitely amazed, I'm definitely amazed. And I started making amends to my parents, because I was the type of dude that whenever I'd get in trouble, I'd call mommy. Mommy, I'm in jail again, bail me out, Or I need money, give me money, and she'd give me money. And it got to this point into the amends where I just knew it was time. It was time to pay them back. So I did some praying about it, and then went and talked to my mom. And I talked to my sponsor first, and he's like, just how much do you think you owe them? And I said, I have no idea. I know it's a lot, but I have no idea. He said, well, just when you go, just ask them. Maybe they'll know, maybe they won't. I'm like, well, my mom's kind of a penny pinch, so she probably knows, And so I go to my mom and I tell her my wrongs, and I ask her, how much do I owe you, and how can I start paying you back? And she says $30,000. And I'm like, shit, how do I pay that back? But we sat down and made a payment plan, and I've continued to pay her back, and that's the least I could do, and so another way that I make amends to her also is when they ask me to do things, I go to these family functions, I go to family barbecues, go to these family birthdays, and it's actually pretty amazing, getting to know my family for the first time, really. They knew, I was never welcome there. I was always a mess, and now they want me there. And I've got a bunch of nieces and nephews that love me. It's amazing, that whenever I'm there, they're like, Uncle Justin, oh my God, they're crawling all over me, and they just love me, and I tickle them. And this last birthday was pretty special for me. They had a birthday cake, and all my nieces and nephews sang happy birthday to me, and I was just filled with gratitude, with just joy, just happiness, and I just realizing how much of a miracle it is for a guy like me to have these type of things in my life. These type of things usually don't happen for people like us. We usually die in a gutter somewhere. So thank God for AA, and thank God for you people, because I would not be here without you guys. This has actually been a dream of mine to come up here and talk to you guys about this stuff, because every time I go to a speaker meeting, I find a little bit more about myself, or get an idea of how to continue growing my spiritual life. And it's a miracle. I love AA. I belong to a home group too. It's called the Coffee Pot and Resentment Group. All what you gotta do is we provide the coffee, you provide the resentment. And it's an amazing group. I've watched it grow, and it's been really amazing. And we meet Monday through Friday at 5:30. And advertising a little bit, but no, I'm just kidding. But it's really awesome. I just barely started taking meetings into the treatment center, and that's been really cool. That's been another thing I've always wanted to do. I really think it's important to try to tell the message of AA as much as possible and wherever possible, and turning your will and your life over to God is pretty amazing. And it has its ups and downs, and it's really hard. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that sobriety is just rainbows and butterflies and it's all great and gravy, right? Like it is. It's really hard, and it can be painful. Because there was this time in my sobriety when I was going through lots of pain. Was looking at these character defects and trying to get rid of them, and was just going through pain, right? And I'm really frustrated, but I've really come to believe that this God that we're always talking about loves every single one of us and desperately wants to talk to us, and will find any means possible to talk to us as long as you're open to it, right? And so I'm driving to work one day, and I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm frustrated, I'm pissed off, and I'm driving, and I'm screaming at God. I'm like, God, why the fuck am I feeling this shit? Why am I always in pain? Why is there pain? And right at that time, I looked over. It was like there's angels. There's this sign that said, guiding you forward. And I've really come to believe that the pain and sobriety is here to guide us forward. It's here to stretch you, to grow you, and to make you into the person God has always intended you to be. So don't be scared of the pain, walk into it. And it's easy for me to say, when I'm not in pain, but I'm in pain today. My sponsor has been weeding my garden lately. And I describe when you first come into AA, that your garden that is covered in weeds, completely covered in weeds. You don't even know what's under there. You have no idea. But you start weeding this garden and things start popping up. And what I found in my garden was a scared little child inside. The scared, hurt child inside. But I've been nurturing that child and letting it come out and play and try to be as gentle and nice to this child as possible. And all you guys have that same child in you. When I look at your faces, that's what I see sometimes. So thank God for AA and thank you for being here. That's what I got.